Guru, older Americans, they are increasingly having debt issues, especially when someone is over 65 and they still have a mortgage to pay. Are there certain strategies and planning that someone could use to make sure they retire in good shape financially?
This is a very serious issue, King. The goal should be that you're debt-free by the time you're at retirement age, and let's say at 65, which means you shouldn't have a mortgage payment. You shouldn't have credit card debt. You shouldn't have any of that going on. You really should be in a position where you could live out your golden years as financially independent as possible. And I think that had been the case years ago, but what's happening now is people are loading up so much debt before retirement that they just can't pay it off by the time they're 65. So the time for planning for that is not when you're 64. You have to have a financial plan in place long before that. And you and I have talked about these things in the past. One of the big problems is people are taking on a heavy amount of educational debt, and that's a huge contributor to the problem that seniors are having, because they're paying for their children sometimes to go to private school when they're in high school, and then college, which certainly is far from cheap, and they're just loading on all that debt. I'm not saying it's a bad investment, but what ends up happening is you just can't get out of it. And we could do an entire segment on the cost of education. But that aside, what happens if you're 65 and you have debt, heavy debt at that point, and you realize that you can't work forever? What are you supposed to do? So I think there's a few things that you can consider, and that's putting yourself on a strict budget. I think you have to map out your expenses, and to the extent, point two, that you could negotiate payments down where you can. Some people have debts to hospitals and other areas that they may be able to negotiate for something less than they owe, which is helpful in bringing debt down. The other thing is you have to consider a lifestyle change, which if you're in New Jersey, you really have to consider relocating. The state is just too damn expensive. So you have to look at how you can make your dollars go further. That may include, by the way, King, downsizing your home if you do want to stay in New Jersey. You don't need the space. Look for something that's more affordable. And last but not least, look, I think you have to forget the past, deal with the present. You can't spend your time beating yourself up for the financial decisions that you made years ago. Deal with the here and now, do the best you can, and figure out a way where you can live within your means and try to get your debts paid off and figure out a way to move forward.
The finance guru, Dan Geltrude, joins us every Saturday morning at 8:45 a.m. Guru, another outstanding segment of Dollars and Cents. And we look forward to, of course, looking ahead for the week with Zuckerberg before Congress. That's going to be interesting. And I'm sure we'll have a whole bunch of more interesting topics to talk about next Saturday at 8:45. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, King.